Robin Urdang is Emmy nominated for her work on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 4. I'm David Buchanan with Gold Derby. Robin, first and foremost, congratulations on your most recent Emmy nomination.
Thank you, David.
Tell us how you heard about the news, and does this one feel any different from your previous nominations for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
I heard about the news. Well, I was watching who was up for, because I was curious about comedy and drama and everything else. So I was watching, but they don't show the Creative Arts Emmys. And after everything was done, I looked up to see if Tom and Curtis were nominated, and I was like, oh, they are. And then I looked to see if we were nominated, and I never expected. So I looked and I saw it and I thought, no, that must be from an earlier season. So I clicked on it, and sure enough, it was for the season. So I was thrilled and grateful, and it's humbling always, and it's exciting as always.
Incredibly
boring.
Incredibly exciting. And something that's so incredible is you've worked on so many incredible projects and films over the course of your career. But I wanted to ask you, what is so unique about working on Mrs. Maisel, especially working with Amy Sherman-Palladino and Dan Palladino, who are so unique as creators and showrunners?
Well, I'm working with the best of the best. So Amy and Dan are incredible, smart, funny. I can't explain this show compared to other ones. It doesn't compare. And it feels like we do a movie every 2 weeks versus a TV show. It doesn't feel like we're doing a series, but I know streaming is different than when I used to do episodic. So that changes things. But I'm as lucky as can be to be on this show. So it feels amazing. We have the best team, the best people, the best writers, everything that songwriters. I mean, of course, we have the best writers. It's Amy and Dan.
Talk us through, for people who don't necessarily know what music supervision is, talk us through, your process working on a typical episode of Maisel, who you collaborate with, and what your day-to-day looks like, especially as you're picking, the music that accompanies, all these different scenes in these episodes.
Day to day, we don't have a lot of time for every episode. I work very closely with Matt Shapiro, who has Amy and Dan's ear, because he's on the set with them. He's one of our producers, and he's involved in every step of the way. As far as music, we get a breakdown, and quite often there may be one song scripted, or it usually says music playing. So we'll go through the outline and figure out where the music goes, and then talk to Amy and Dan and see what they're looking for. Send options over. They choose music too. It's when I'm talking about Amy and Dan and music, I'm talking about all of us. I'm talking about the entire team, from our songwriters to our music editor to our music producers, Stuart Lerman. I mean, everybody's involved. So we see that there's songs that have to be pre-recorded. We have Sandy Park, who winds up doing all our contracting for us. It's a conglomeration of a lot of stuff. We just go from A to Z, but it's a well-oiled machine at this time. So we pretty much know, okay, here's the breakdown. Do we need music here? Where are we going with it? What does Amy want? What does Dan want? Do they have something in mind or not? That's basically how it works.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And this season was in production during the pandemic. So I just wanted to ask you, did that influence how you collaborated with Amy and Dan and all of your collaborators? Were you able to be in the edit room, when you were picking these songs? Are you usually in the edit room with the directors? How does that work? And did the pandemic change any of that?
The pandemic did change, because I usually go to set, and I didn't this season, that past season, because of COVID. When we do recordings, I'm now online and doing it Zoom, which is actually better in some senses for me, because I'm looking at it from the outside, and I'm not sitting there in the studio watching everyone and having fun with them and going, wow, this is great. I'm really hearing things that people in the studio may not hear. We've got Stuart Lerman, who's an incredible our executive music producer, David Chase, who does our arrangements, Tom Maisel and Curtis Moore, who write the Maisel fabulous songs that they're nominated for. So as far as different this year, yes, because everything is for me is Zoom. Um, as far as Amy and Dan, it's pretty much the same as far as they ask for music, I give them music, I give music to the editors, I give music to our Annette Kudrick, who is our music editor, and I send music over, and most of our music is a lot of it, not most, is chosen pre-production. So we already know anything that we're going in on and have to use. For the Burlesque Club, for example, we had music galore, but we knew ahead of time what we were using. So it was different in the sense that I miss terribly going to the set, and I miss everybody there like crazily. But we got the work done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're nominated this season for the season finale, How Do You Get to Carnegie Hall? But before we talk about that episode in particular, I just wanted to ask you if there are any standout moments from the entirety of season 4 that you wanted to kind of highlight, because obviously music is so integral to this entire series. So over the course of these 8 episodes, what stands out most in your mind?
I don't think there's any one particular song or episode. We have the Shy Baldwin wedding, which was really amazing amount of music and really fun. And Tom Curtis wrote a song, Maybe Monica, that's actually nominated for an Emmy. That there's every episode is filled with music. We don't choose music per episode. I mean, we don't choose it on a whole, we choose it scene by scene. So there's nothing, it's just the whole entire season is filled with music, and music is so important to the show. And we don't put in something for no reason. When Amy and Dan want music, there is a specific reason, and there is a specific placement. It's not to make the scene better. It's not to make somebody feel something. It's a character. It's not to lead any viewers. It's because it just, there's a reason for every single point, a point of view for every single song that's put in.
Yeah, you've kind of addressed something I wanted to ask you about the season finale in particular, which is it's such an emotional episode. We have Moish in the hospital, and all the characters are concerned about, will he wake up and will he be okay? And Midge gives a really beautiful speech about Moish at the Burlesque Club, and Abe writes a lovely obituary. It's a very emotional hour, not to mention, Lenny and Midge, which we'll get into in a little while. But I just wanted to ask you, and you kind of addressed this a little bit, but when you're working with something that's so emotional, does that influence how you pick songs for the episode? Or even when the kind of tone of the episode is one way, is it still just kind of going scene by scene to address, the needs of the scene and the tone? Or do you take kind of the arc of the episode into consideration?
I think with Maisel, we more or less go scene by scene. We have an arc, and that's showing in the writing and the acting and the scenes and how they work. And then you need certain songs that are going to make sense with the scene, and there's a reason why we're putting it in there. So I know there's some shows that say, okay, this is a really sad episode, let's come up with sad music. We're not at all like that. Where there's a method to Amy and Dan's madness. There's a point of view. Sometimes they want something to that's irony that they want to put in there. It works more with the costumes and the acting and the production design, and it's just another element of all of that the music puts together. It becomes one whole piece with the music. So it's not looking at an episode and saying, okay, we want all of French music in here, or because it wouldn't work. We have so much going on with so many different characters. In Joel's club, for example, the Button Club, we recorded American pop songs in Mandarin, because his jukebox is filled with only Chinese music. They wanted him to fail, so they gave him a jukebox with all Chinese music. So we recorded Mandarin songs. Now, it's not a big scene that everybody's going to hear the music, but anybody that does, they'll go, oh, that's Que Sera Sera, but wait a minute, that's not Que Sera Sera. And then they'll hear that it's Mandarin. So again, every song, there's a different reason for it. Every use.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't pick up on that, but when I rewatch, I will keep my ear tuned for that. I want to ask you about some of the scenes in the season finale in particular, because as you're saying, the music is so vital. And the first I want to ask you about is that beautifully directed and shot scene at the Burlesque Club with femininity. Is just such a great moment. So I wanted to ask you, how did you pick that song in particular, and what was it like to collaborate with Amy on, matching that song to what she wanted to do with the camera?
Matching the song has everything to do with our choreographer, Margaret Derrick, who is unbelievable and did such a superb job this season. She does every season, but there was so much dance in every single episode. The Burlesque Club is a club that, if anybody doesn't know this, I don't know who knows what, but it's a burlesque club. It's the Wolford, and it's where Midge is working. And when she starts at the club, it's really run down and it's managed really poorly. But Midge comes in and she wants to change it. And Midge being Midge, she wants like perfection. She wants it has to be perfect. So as the episodes go on, from the beginning, where the first episode, the band is laid back and they're not really keeping up with the tempo, and they're great musicians, but they're just bored, and the costumes are falling off, and the I don't know, it's just all a mess. One dancer bangs into something on her head, the curtains don't close. By the time we reach the season finale, the club is now as perfect as Mitch has made it. So we wanted a song that was, well, Amy had sent me something and said, hey lady, I'm looking for something like this, but obviously we can't use this. It was like a 2000 and something song. And I was like, thanks, Amy. That's a fun one. How am I, it was a great song. And I was just like, damn. But I went through and we didn't want something known. We wanted some really just something funny, something catchy, something sexy, and something lyrically correct. So I just did my due diligence and went through my music and happened to find this song, Femininity, and thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And I get really excited when I find something I love, and I was like, oh my God, I hope she likes this one too, And I sent that along with 4 other songs, and I never send that many. And Amy's like, this is great. And then it went to a choreographer who did a beautiful musical number to it.
That's great. And you mentioned this a bit too. It's an unknown song, really. I mean, I don't think many listeners will know it off the top of their heads. And it's from a musical, Oh Captain, which is such a deep cut. And the musical theater plays such a vital role in this show. So I just wanted to ask you too, where do you find such unique and lesser known pieces? Your knowledge of music must be so extensive to come up with so many incredible songs like this.
Well, I have a vast knowledge in it from growing up, from loving this music, from having a sister who's a dancer, from having parents who weren't musical, but they sent us to camp, and I did every musical there was there. But Amy and Dan are hugely responsible for music. It's when I say me, it's all of us. They come up with these ideas that I just like, wow, I wish I thought of that. So it's all of us. It takes all of us to do this, and I think that between the knowledge that we all have, it works. They lean on me harder for some things than other things. They sometimes write with something in mind, like the Barbra Streisand, and this is not even this season, but the first season, I would never ever have given them Barbra Streisand, no matter how much I love her. She never cleared for TV before. So that was something that they had in mind, and probably one of many all-time favorite uses was Happy Days. But that was, Amy wrote that actual song, wrote the script around that. But Dan has God knows how many iPods. And we all just know what we know. It takes a village.
Well, it certainly is put to good use in this series. Another really wonderful musical moment is the song "Someone to Watch Over Me" that accompanies Lenny and Midge's scene. I wanted to ask you, that's a song that everybody does know, but the version that you use is maybe a lesser known version by Blossom Dearie, and it's so beautiful and tender. I just wanted to ask you about, choosing that song and choosing that particular version of the song for this scene, because it's such a pivotal scene for the episode and for the series.
Well, we love Blossom Dearie. We love her girlish voice, her fun arrangements. We've used her throughout the series, and she's a Jewish jazz singer. So she was. And lyrically and emotionally, we chose that song because it's a huge, well-known song of the era. I can't say that word. And it has the warmth and the tenderness about it that we needed for the scene. But rather than using Ella Fitzgerald or Louis Armstrong or one of the really popular ones, we went back to Blossom Dearie because it connects us with the show, as we've used her many times. And it's almost like a comforting female vocal. It's delicate, it's intimate, and it's stunning. And it just brings that Lenny and Midge closeness. It just works. We often try to use masters, even if the songs are well known. We often use recordings that are not as well known, or we record our own versions a lot too of when we use it for score to make it work to picture, which is another thing. We have no score. All of the music in the show is used source used as scores, which is pretty intense.
Yeah, and let's talk about one more use of that in the episode, which I think is just so moving. It's that final scene of Midge in the blizzard, heading home from Carnegie Hall, and that beautiful accompaniment, the Benjamin Britten song, Cuckoo. Just talk about that song in particular. It's so perfect for the scene.
That's all Amy. Amy, I don't remember if she called, no, she sent me something, said, "Hey lady," as Amy says. I love this song. They've not used it. It's used, and I'd love to find something different. And she told me the scene, and I don't recall if I saw the scene yet. I must have. And I came up with a few others, and I just went, Amy, like I emailed and I said, here are some, but there is nothing as good as the Benjamin Britten, nothing. I even heard his other songs. I said, this is just so perfect. And it wound up in the show, but that's it's so good. You can't beat that.
I agree. No, I agree.
I couldn't beat that. Yeah.
Before I let you go, I do just want to ask one question. Maisel is ending with its upcoming 5th season. I just wanted to know if you could give us any teasers about, is there any music that you're dying to use that you haven't had a chance to, that you're going to use in these episodes? Is there anything, since that the show is ending, that you want to do before the show wraps?
Yes, we have some music that we want to use. I have some music that I'm gonna try to get in that maybe we've tried before and it doesn't work. We have songs I'm sure that are going to be original, not giving anything away, and it's going to be I'm really loving working this season, but I'm really sad that it's going to be the last one. We're such an amazing team of people, and not we have such an amazing team of people.
Robin Urdang, congratulations again on the Emmy nomination, and thanks so much for talking to Gold Derby today.
Thank you, David, for having me.